Hola, ¿cómo estás? Today, we're going to talk about how to conjugate los verbos reflexivos, reflexive verbs, in both el tiempo presente, the present tense, and el tiempo pretérito, the preterite tense. Make sure that you take down all information required and be aware that some things that you need to write down will only be given to you and mentioned to begin with in the notes as you listen. Vamos a empezar. First off, how do we know that a verb's reflexive when we see it at the same time? The first thing you need to be aware of is we'll see a reflexive pronoun attached to the end. So if you happen to have your vocab sheet for the ropa unit with you, and you look in the middle column on Página Una, you'll note that towards the middle and the bottom of that middle column, there are a whole bunch of verbs that end with the letters SE. Those letters SE are a reflexive pronoun. So se, as you see on your notes packet, is a reflexive pronoun. And what we use these reflexive pronouns for is to talk about what someone does to him or herself, or to what people do to each other. So once again, when you're learning these reflexive verbs, you'll always be able to identify them when you see those two letters se, that reflexive pronoun, at the end. I'm going to give you the meanings of these reflexive verbs that you need to be familiar with in the middle of la primera página, the first page of your notes. But I'm also going to give you the meanings of these verbs when they are not reflexive, because many of these verbs have meanings that are a little different when they are not reflexive, and they don't have a reflexive pronoun. And some of these verbs, like probar that you've used before and poner that you've used before, you likely already know the original meaning, but make sure that you get it down. So we have arreglarse, which is to get ready. Arreglar, on its own without the reflexive pronoun, means to arrange. Cortarse means to cut oneself. So we would say cortarse el pelo, which is to cut someone, one's own hair, because I do know people who cut their own hair. Maybe you do too. Or cortarse las uñas, to cut one's nails, one's fingernails, toenails, etc. Cortar on its own is what we do to a piece of paper. Or if someone else cuts our hair. Or if you're a small child and someone else cuts your nails. Destacarse, we're only going to deal with in the reflexive form, which is to stand out. Parecerse, as a reflexive verb, you will only use in the plural form because it means to look like. So you have people who look like each other. Parecer, without the reflexive pronoun, means to seem. Also be aware that this verb, parecer and parecerse, whether it's reflexive or not, does have an irregular yo form in the tiempo presente, the present tense, which is parezco. Ponerse means to put on. You're well aware that poner on its own means to put or to place, and that en el presente, poner has an irregular yo form, pongo. In the preterite, it's completely irregular, puse, pusiste, etc. In the next column, we have probarse, which is to try on. Probar on its own is to try, and we use that a lot in the food unit, talking about what people try or what they're expected to try. The O is bold-faced because it is a stem changer in the present tense only. The O changes to a UE. Quedarse means to stay or remain. Quitarse means to take off. Quitar, without the reflexive pronoun, just means to take something, so to take something away. So if you have a teacher who's annoyed with you for using a cell phone, they might quitar the phone from you for the class period of the day. Vestirse, as a reflexive verb, means to dress oneself. The B is bold-faced because it changes to an I in both the presente and the pretérito. Vestir on its own means to dress like someone helping someone else get dressed. If you have a younger sibling or you have to babysit for someone, you have to help get dressed for a much younger sibling. That's what you would use that verb for. So now, let's make sure that we know how to conjugate verbs en reflexivos, verbos reflexivos en el presente. On this slide, we have los primeros dos pasos, steps 1 and 2. And we're using the verb arreglarse, to get ready, as our sample verb. I've broken this down in steps to hopefully make it a little more user-friendly for those of us who struggle with conjugations However, if you're able to put all the steps together and do everything all at the same time without having to go through this 4-step pattern after we first go through it, by all means, please feel free to do so. Don't feel that you have to follow these 4 steps every time if you don't feel that they're helpful to you. But if you find that they're helpful for you, by all means, make sure that you use them. Okay? So the first thing you're going to do is drop the letter se from the end of the verb. So you're left with you have arreglarse, and then you'd be left with arreglar. After that, you're just going to conjugate the verb arreglar in the present tense. So you'll note that at the in the box at the bottom of la primera página, you're going to write arreglo, arreglas, arregla, arreglamos, arregláis, and arreglan. Next, you need to make sure that you write down at the top of página 2 the English and Spanish for the pronombres reflexivos, because there is a reflexive pronoun that matches up with each verb form. Me means myself, and it matches up with the yo form. Te means yourself, and it matches up with the tu form. Se means himself, herself, or yourself, and it matches up with the la usted form. Nos means ourselves, so now you may see why I tell you never to abbreviate nosotros, because it means something different. It matches up with the nosotros form. Yourselves and España only is os. And themselves or yourselves is also se, matches up with the eos or ustedes form of a verb. Make sure that you have all these down accurately so that you know which reflexive pronoun matches up with each verb conjugation. The next thing you need to do is put everything together. As we mentioned before, there's a reflexive pronoun that matches up with each verb conjugation, and what you need to do in order to conjugate a verb correctly a reflexive verb correctly in the present or the preterite is to write the correct reflexive pronoun or the matching reflexive pronoun in front of the conjugated verb as a separate word, and you're all set. What we have here is me arreglo, so I get ready. Te arreglas, you get ready. Se arregla, he or she gets ready, or you get ready, formal. Nos arreglamos, we get ready. Os arregláis, you all get ready, only in España. And se arreglan, they get ready, or you all get ready. Now, go to página 3 at the top, pausa el video, conjugate on página 3 the verb quitarse en el presente, the entire verb, and then complete the 7 practice questions at the bottom of página 3. And once you're done, please call me over to come check your work before proceeding to a little bit of practice with the pretérito. Unpause the video when you're done. And I've checked over your work. Okay, moving on to los verbos en el pretérito. You follow the exact same 4 steps. The only difference at all is that for step 2, instead of conjugating the verb in el presente, you conjugate the verb en el pretérito. What we have here as our example is quedarse, and we have steps 1 through 4 completed. So you have me quedé, te quedaste, se quedó, nos quedamos, os quedastes, and se quedaron. You need to, the video is actually going to stop here. So what you need to do is conjugate the verbs probarse and ponerse en el pretérito on página 4. And then on página 5, you are going to complete the practice activities conjugating all of the verbs in el pretérito. Before you move on to the next activity of the day, please call me over and have me check your work one more time to make sure that we're on the right track. Muchas gracias.